All right. Anything else? Okay, let's do this real quick. Now, let's take a look at what is a servant leader. And there, Robert Greenleaf, who is the father of servant leadership, he came up with these 10 characteristics of a servant leader. And as we look at these characteristics, as we look at these, a lot of them are going to be familiar to those of us who've been in Agile for a while, those of us who've been doing Scrum and Agile. They're going to be familiar to us. And so I think he's emphasizing things that really need to be emphasized and looking at it from a team perspective. How do you invest in, not in just the leader, how do you invest in the team? And how can the team as a whole be servant leaders? And I think one of the things that if nothing else, that you get out of this is that when your team, and I'm speaking as a Scrum Master, as an Agile coach, and even as a leader of an organization, a development organization, each member of that team, each member of that entity, each member of that organization can and should be a servant leader. That's my goal. And I don't know how well I've done it, but that's my goal. Each member of that team is a servant leader. So let's take a look at these 10 characteristics real quick. Listening. This is not anything new. In Agile, as we always talk about listening, active listening. It is very, very important part of communication. And you know as well as I do, you can't have any kind of relationship, whether it's a team, whether it's a civic, whether it's a political, whether it's a religious, or whether it's a marriage. You can't have any kind of good relationship without communication, good communication, and listening is a huge part of communication. So listening, listening, and sometimes we're not very good listeners, because as someone speaking, we're thinking about what we're going to say, once they finish. No, we really need to be a good servant leader, to be a good member of a team. We need to be active listeners. Okay. Empathy. Empathy is it's being brought to the forefront more so now than in the past. And again, I'm telling you something that you probably already know. Empathy is much different than sympathy. Empathy is trying to understand a situation from someone else's point of view. It's not being sorry for them. It's understanding from their point of view, understanding, and as you work on, and as you're in your team environment within your organization, everyone's different. Everyone has different situations, different circumstances. And so empathy is saying, try to put yourself in that other person's shoes. Healing. And this is a very interesting one. Very interesting. And I'll just read it. It says, everyone is broken in some way, which affects their behavior and attitude. Share the journey to wholeness with them. And as we think about this, in our teams, as I said earlier, are made up of all different kinds of people, all different kinds of situations. And we think about it, and if we're honest with ourselves, we're right. Everyone's broken in some way. So as a team, as a servant leader member of a team, yes, healing is going to be very important to be a part of that journey from where they're at, from where that brokenness to healing. And that's just a part of being there. That's a part of being invested in that individual or in your team. That's just a part of that.